I'm not really sure where we go from here now. For those of you who aren't aware, we're playing Bayern Munich away on Wednesday night. And the reason I'm sitting like this is because I've got the game on right here and I'm just watching the players walking off. And what concerns me is, again, they don't look too bothered that they've lost. They're happy to go and shake the Brighton players' hands, give them a smile, give them a hug. Well played. You played really it's really, really worrying times right now because, again, I thought we started this game pretty well. I thought the change of shape, it was a good idea. It made sense. I was a bit concerned when I saw the starting lineup, and I'll set up properly now as the coverage now ends, but it seemed like a good idea in principle. You put Rashford up front with Højlund, play them as a front two, Rashford slightly off the left, Højlund slightly off the right, Bruno in the middle, and then get that energy in midfield, bringing McTominay in off the back of another decent international break for McTominay. And then you sort of sit them around there. You got your Casemiro and your Eriksen, and then you sort of, because you've then boxed in that midfield, you can then play Dalot and Reguilon sort of as attacking fullbacks. Old school Manchester United style, attacking fullbacks with players coming in off the front, two up front, bring everyone else into play. And the first 10 to 15 minutes, it looked pretty decent. We were creating chances. Of course, we didn't score because, for whatever reason, we're still not good enough to score goals when the chances come. But then Brighton scored, and we'll get to why Brighton scored in a moment. And then normal service resumed. Heads dropped, mentality dropped, selfishness took over in certain players, pettiness and poor attitude took over in other players. And the longer the game went on, the more disjointed the team became, the more frustrating to watch the team became. And by the time it was 2 and then 3, and I know Hannibal pulled one back straight from kickoff, but let's just say for argument's sake 2, because the third goal and the one goal back cancel each other out immediately. There was just nothing to show for it. It was embarrassing. Brighton were taking the mick. And here's the worrying part about Brighton taking the mick. No Evan Ferguson until the last 5 minutes. No Solly March. No Estepinian. 3 of their most key players and their 3 best performing players outside of Mitoma so far this season weren't even playing. And we were 3-0 down to them. They were ripping us to bits. They made 6 changes to their starting lineup and they were ripping us to bits because we just have no responsibility. Like I say, going forward, we look dangerous. Clearly, Ten Hag has put it upon himself to try and install this style of play where we're free-flowing, movement, getting on the ball, trying to play that Ajax style, attempting to play this total football style where players can pop up anywhere. Bruno can drift out wide, McTominay can move up front, Rashford can go out to the left, Reguilon can play at left wing, Dalot at right wing, Casemiro can drop into centre-back. But the problem is, when we lose the ball trying to play like that, this is the Premier League. This is not the Eredivisie where you can have players out of position when you lose the ball and your opposition isn't good enough to capitalise on players being out of position. In the Premier League, you are capitalised for having players out of position. And when the other team has the ball, we still don't have a shape. And the first goal is a prime example of that all we're being instructed to do is mark areas of the pitch and not actually take responsibility for people taking runs. And I'm putting that first goal on Casemiro purely because of how the goal came about. And I'm not, when I say I'm putting it on Casemiro, I mean he is the player that should have been taking responsibility of that situation. But because of the instructions are clearly to just mark areas of the pitch, that's all he does. On 3 separate occasions in the build-up and the eventual goal, Danny Welbeck goes past Casemiro. He picks the ball up initially, plays it out wide, goes past Casemiro. Then he picks the ball up again, plays it out wide again, and goes past him again. Then when the ball comes into him in the middle, Casemiro lets him go a 3rd time, and he puts the ball in the back of the net. That is unacceptable. And it's just because they've been told to mark areas of the pitch. But because players have already abandoned other areas of the pitch, there's no covering, there's no taking responsibility. And then when someone tries to cover up for the space that's been left because no one's tracking back, they dive in. And that's what happens on the second goal. Ball goes out wide because Dallow's out of position. McTominay starts to come over, but then starts pointing because, again, he doesn't want to take responsibility. Ball comes inside. Lindelof leaves it because he doesn't want to take responsibility. Casemiro leaves it because he doesn't want to take responsibility. Then Lisandro Martinez has to come all the way over because the gap has been left. He then tries to take responsibility, but by the time he's got there, it's a desperate situation. So he dives in. Gross leaves him on the floor, puts it in the back of the net. 2-0. Third goal, no different. Ball goes out wide. Players pointing. Who wants to take responsibility for the ball carrier? No one. Who wants to take responsibility for the people making runs into the box? No one. Ball comes in. João Pedro, bang, 3-0. I don't care what work you've had to do to try and improve the offensive style of play. Because don't get me wrong, we were way short on goals last season. But we had one of the best defensive records in the league. And that was due to how well organised our defence was and how it was well marshalled by Casemiro in front of it. I don't know what's gone on this summer, but that's just gone. There is no organisation in the team when the opposition has the ball. We just drift around in loose areas of the pitch. No one closes players down when they're attacking us. We press high, don't get me wrong. We try and put pressure on the opposition, but the moment the ball gets past that offensive line, no one wants to take responsibility for the ball. No one wants to go and handle the ball carrier. No one wants to pick up runners. And we're going to get punished time and time and time again until that is sorted. That is the players, in essence, being utterly clueless. And to another extent, the coaching staff. We'll now get to the moment, which I'm sure is going to be the moment that everyone is talking about today, and that is the decision to take Rasmus Højlund off. I personally think that Rasmus Højlund had a pretty poor game. I'm not going to try and defend the performance that he put in. He got bullied by Lewis Dunk, which is a real shame. I thought after what we saw against Arsenal, we'd see him go up against Dunk and give him a real scrap. That didn't happen. Dunk bullied him off the pitch. There were a couple of opportunities where he nipped in front, showing some good striker position, you know, the sort of thing that I've been asking for, the Hernandez, the Cavani sort of movement. Did it a couple of times, was unlucky, and was also incredibly unlucky not to have his goal given because of the ball going slightly out of play. From the replays I've seen, I think it was out of play. I don't think we can complain too much about that goal being disallowed, although I'm sure other people are going to say so. Other than that, I don't think Højlund did a lot. So I can understand the notion of taking off a player that wasn't doing very well. However, we are 2-0 down at home. He has been the biggest threat in front of goal, albeit a small one. I thought Rashford created relatively well, but was far, far too wasteful. He shot far too often. He ignored passes on too many occasions. If anything, his contribution is worse than Højlund's. Because despite being a threat, he was then wasteful. Whereas at least when Højlund was in those positions, he was an actual threat to the opposition. And like I say, we were 2-0 down. So to take off the man, the only man at that point in time that would put the ball in the back of the net for Manchester United, to take him off for Martial is a disgrace. And I don't care who you are, I don't care what your reputation is. When you're 2 goals down, you don't swap your strikers. You take off a midfielder and you put on a second striker and change the shape to a one that will suit having 2 strikers, 2 proper strikers up front. I would not have cared if he'd have taken Eriksen off and put Martial on. Firstly, I wouldn't have put Martial on. I'd have put Garnacho or Pellistri on and actually gone for some more width with some more pace because we actually needed to cause more problems than just Rashford down the left-hand side. We needed more balance. We needed more impetus. But to take Højlund off for Martial is just absolutely criminal. Thankfully, one of the youth players came on and did something because they seem to actually want to put themselves about, and that is Hannibal. And this comes to another point that I made a few weeks ago about how Ten Hag is treating our youngsters. Like I say, I understand the concept behind trying a different shape today. But if I'm Alejandro Garnacho and I'm Facundo Pellistri, after all the stuff that's gone on this week in regards to Anthony and to Jadon Sancho, I would be disgusted that I've not been put in that starting lineup. Because I don't know what more they can do. Every time Garnacho is on the pitch, he puts in a good performance. Every time Pellistri is on the pitch, he puts in a good performance. It should have been one of them at least starting the game today. But he has decided to not go for the youngsters again. He has decided to stick with the players that he thinks are more reliable in his eyes, although I disagree with that. And it's backfired. And that is clueless and possibly deluded management from Erik ten Hag. To have the arrogance to go, no, I don't trust the young players at Manchester United. I am going to play the players that I think are going to do something in a completely different setup and just expect it to work against one of the best ball-playing sides in the country. And it's not worked. And now we're left with, I don't know. Like I say, we've got Bayern Munich Wednesday night. We play like this. It's going to be a humiliation. And I know Bayern aren't playing the best of football. They were arguably outplayed by Bayer Leverkusen last night. But at least they're getting results. We just don't look like we're anything right now. And it just comes down to, like I say, when I put utterly clueless in this thumbnail, it is in regard to the whole club. It comes back to the Glaziers again. It comes back to Richard Arnold again. It then filters down to the coaching staff. It then filters up to the manager, who then has to decide the team properly and put the right emphasis on the right things that we're lacking on the pitch in training, because I'm not seeing improvements in the areas that we've been weak in so far this season. And then it comes down to the cluelessness of the players on the pitch to not take responsibility for the things that are going on. To start moaning and whining, to start throwing yourself to the floor and look for free kicks and penalties that just aren't there. And real worrying signs for Manchester United right now. I don't really know what else to say. The reaction is very, very raw. Like I say, I've just literally hit record as the full-time whistle has gone because something needed to be said, and hopefully I've got the right points across today. But as always, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Drop a like on the video if you'd enjoyed yet another rant. But my word, if you're a Manchester United fan, start praying for Wednesday night. If you're anything other than a Manchester United fan, grab the popcorn for Wednesday night, because we could get absolutely obliterated by Bayern Munich. And yeah, that could be a fun reaction. So I'll see you then.